Ugh. Come on in. Okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. We are all family here. It's like hello, everybody, and welcome to Rooted in Care, a community conversation for mothers and families. My name is Dominique Lee. I am the journalist for the Zeta Chi chapter of IOTA Phi Lambda Sorority Incorporated. We have some awesome guests here from ChildSavers and Don Motivation today to give information to mothers and caregivers as well as fathers as well. Information on parenting, mental health services, as well as just motivation to keep on going. So first off, we'll have Lisa Thompson and Katie Francis from Child Savers. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
We are very excited to be here to share with you just a little bit about what goes on in Churchill at a place called Child Savers. And we are very fortunate and blessed to say that Child Savers has been in existence for over 100 years. We celebrated our 100th anniversary last year. And we continue to do amazing things within the Churchill community and throughout a large portion of Virginia. Through Child Savers, we have two different departments. We have what is called the Child Development Services Department, which is I'm going to give you a little bit of information about, and then my colleague Katie is going to talk to you about mental health. And so when you think about child development services, people automatically wonder, what does that mean? Because that term in itself is a mouthful, right? And so what I like to help people understand, child development services is truly about ensuring that child care professionals have the tools and the resources that they need for children who are in their care to be ready to enter kindergarten, ready to learn. Again, that's a lot. But in a nutshell, what we do under that umbrella is that we provide coaching, we provide. I want to start my own childcare business. I want to be an entrepreneur. What does that look like? What is us? We will work with an individual to start their own in-home business at no cost to them because we have to help overwrite that cost. That person will only need to pay for his or her background clearances and a small application fee of $50. Then they can get started. We are very fortunate that we actually receive several grants from the state right now where we can offer these services at no cost. And we've been able to do so my whole tenure. I've been at the agency for 24 years. And so for 24 years, we've been able to offer these services at no cost to the individual. We also can help a person who wants to earn what's called Child Development Associate's Credentialing. Mouthful. I'm trying not to use acronyms, right? But the acronym is CDA. And if a person, oh, I saw a thumbs up. So if a person would like to earn their Child Development Associate's Credentialing in three different disciplines, it could be infant toddler, family day home, or preschool. Our agency provides that person with the training to be ready to apply for that credentialing with the National Council. We do not administer the actual testing, but we ready that person so that he or she or they can apply with the council to become a certified provider. That certification is not just recognized in Virginia, that certification is recognized nationwide. So we like to definitely uplift early care providers and let them know that that could be their first step from coming out of high school, and maybe they're in a gap season in their life and they are not certain they want to maybe enter into college or a 2-year or 4-year program. They can earn their CDA. Okay. One of the other things that we do at Child Savers that I think is very important when you think about parents and just ensuring that they have the tools and resources they need, we can also help an individual parent or families find childcare to meet their specific family needs. And so we have a database that we can log into, and that database can delineate the things that you're looking for. We now live in a world where we no longer, I think, work a 9-to-5 job, correct? And so we know that it's more and more important for parents to have adequate quality childcare to meet their family needs. We can help parents with that through a grant that we have with the state. I'm trying to also think of other things that we do to really hone into your audience, and your audience, of course, is families. But if you know someone who maybe currently is seeking a career path and they're not certain of what career they want to or what route they want to take, but they know that they love working with children, we welcome the opportunity to speak with them. We welcome the opportunity to sit down and have a dialogue and help them just look at what's the best pathway for them. We have a program also that we work with potential candidates who want to enter into the early care professional arena. That's just what we do at CDS. I'm gonna let my colleague Katie talk about what we do at mental health, and then we'll come back around and see if you have any questions for us to help you better understand the amazing work that we do at the agency.
Thank you, Lisa. So hello, my name is Katie Francis, and I work with the mental health team. We have, I used to say 3, but now we have like 4 different mental health programs, and our goal really is to serve the family. Right now we serve them through the lifespan. So in our outpatient clinic, kind of our classic outpatient clinic that's at the 222nd Street in Church Hill, we serve children and families from 2 to 18. In the past 2 years, we've also added this caregiver support program, and that's really intended to support the parents of the children that we work with, because we truly believe that healthy children need to be in healthy families, and parenting is hard, and it is really trying. And when your child is going through their own things, it can sometimes bring up some of your own stuff. And so our caregiver team is really intended to support the caregiver so that they can show up in their best way for their children. Through that outpatient clinic, we do attachment-based therapy, family-based therapy, trauma-focused therapy, and family-focused therapy. We do play therapy. That's one of the big things we're known for. So that's really our outpatient clinic. Then we have our immediate response team. That team is a unique team. It's intended to support individuals who have recently experienced or disclosed a trauma, because the goal for that team is to avoid future problems that can come from experiencing traumatic things, going through traumatic things that are untreated. You're not talking to anybody about them. And so really we're trying to get in really quickly, put in some good supports to the family, to the children, to whom needs it, and then see what they need after that. So that program is usually a 6-month program, and then we decide, okay, do we need to continue with therapy? Did we meet your need? Do we need to do something else? That team also does some community engagement. They do a lot of preventative work. So they'll work in the community to help have community conversations around, what does conflict management look like? How do we have conflict management without resorting to aggression or violence or things like that? How do we practice some mindfulness to help ourselves be more present in our bodies, in our minds, so that we know what's happening in here, so that we can cope with what's going on. We also have a school-based team. That's a really unique program that we have. We have embedded clinicians into many schools in the area. So we're in about 14 schools in the Richmond City district. We are in schools in Colonial Heights district, and then also Hopewell. And so those clinicians essentially act as outpatient clinicians within the school. They carry a caseload, but that program is really about access. So a lot of times it's really hard to get to your therapy session. Sometimes there's things that are getting in the way. Sometimes it's transportation. Sometimes it's work. We are not open 24/7. We do have to close our building sometimes. And so that school-based program really allows us to support kids and families who getting to the brick and mortar building just isn't going to happen. And then one of our it's our newest program, and it's really intended to support mothers, pregnant mothers, postpartum mothers, and that is our It Takes a Village program. And that is intended to support any mother within the state of Virginia who has had a child in the last 2-ish years or is currently pregnant with just your mental health. So all the clinicians who do that work have gone through a specific training that is geared towards perinatal mental health. So sometimes we can look at some more like significant needs, but really that program can also be there just for somebody to talk to. Being a mother is hard, especially when you are a new mother. Those first couple months are really difficult. You are totally learning to do something different, and most of the time you're not tending to your own mental health need because you are just trying to survive. And we are there to help just hold space for you, be somebody to support you, to bounce some ideas off, to talk about some coping skills to help you feel supported. So those are our mental health programs in a nutshell. Yeah. What kind of questions could we help answer to help learn more about our services and how we can support mothers and families? So right now our age is 18. If you are an existing client and you are still in high school, we're not going to cut you out right at 18. We're going to support you in transitioning to that next stage of life and to finding a provider that can see you past 18 and ongoing. So that's really our goal in that age cutoff. It's up for discussion. We might be exploring, what does that emerging adult population look like? But right now, if you called us at like 17 and a half or 18 and we're looking for therapy, if you're not in one of our schools, our high schools, because we are in some high schools, we will probably connect you with a provider that can see you until you're 80, just so that you have that ongoing support. The mental health programs? Oh yeah, the age range has not. The age range isn't necessarily connected to schooling, but if you are, we usually will see somebody if you're enrolled in our services up to more like 19, just to give you that year to transition, because it's not. 18 is a big year, and sometimes the world puts a lot of expectations on you and expects you to be able to, understand being an adult when really developmentally you're not. So we do try to give that time to support them in finding somebody else who can continue to support them past that 19-year, so on and so forth.
So great question. Under the Child Development Services, we work with children from birth to 12. More specifically, birth to 5, because again, our goal is to make sure that the children are ready to enter kindergarten. And then I use the term beneficiaries. After school children are beneficiaries of us being in those programs because their teacher benefit from our coaching, our trainings, and et cetera. Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. So we do have some social media presence. So we do have I think Instagram, Facebook.
We do.
And we have a website that goes through all the information. You can actually access request care from our website as well. So if you go onto our website, you can click the different services and fill out what I would call the request for services. So you're putting your name out there saying, hey, I'm interested in learning more. And then our team would call you and go through like a full, more thorough assessment. We have really run off of word of mouth, just like families who have been happy with our services telling other people about them, coming to events like this and talking to the community. We do a lot of outreach. Both our teams we try to have a presence at school events, at community events, at health events. We do trainings. My team will have meetings with different hospital systems just to make sure, because kids coming into the ER and some of those other places might need to be connected to services. And there is even though Richmond is really saturated with mental health providers, the need is so high. So we just want to make sure that they're aware of our services. We used to work really closely with some pediatricians, and so they would refer to us as well. But I would say looking at our website, looking at our social medias, website's the best place to get access to like the services in the mental health and learning about the different programs. And then, word of mouth.
And we've had limited opportunities to have news media coverage. It's been limited. And so we do recognize, we were talking before this actually started, that we need to go back to some grassroots efforts to look at brand awareness, because we know that not everyone knows to go to a website, right? But most people have some type of social media. Right. And so how can we use social media more to push out our services?
I think part of it too is like showing up. We have to show up in the communities. So some of our team will come and do, water distribution and other things like that. So we're a more familiar face, and you're more likely to be like, oh, hey, I saw Lisa. She looked like she was really nice. I may want to go talk to her versus like, here's a website. So part of that, I think, speaking to that grassroots piece is showing up to the community and becoming a trustworthy partner.
Mothers, right? It also, we recognize the need for caregivers, because it is very difficult to be a mom. Like I have my 21, almost 21-year-old here, and it's been crazy, right? How do you think that the community come together to support not just mothers, but each other as the mothers are going?
So we will see in our caregiver program, we open to mothers, fathers. If a child is in the care of a grandparent, that grandparent is eligible too. And so really, like, whoever's caring for that child, we're going to support them. We've done some like grandparents groups, so groups for individuals who are revisiting being a caregiver after moving through that life stage, and kind of the challenges of entering into that space again can be really difficult. And then through the It Takes a Village program, I would say that's the one thing that is focused on mothers right now. We are making recommendations to expand, that concept of what postpartum mental health looks like and what kind of support looks like. And there are some really good local programs in Richmond. Birth in Color is one. They do a lot of support. So they have a program with doulas to help mothers who are, obviously pregnant mothers and postpartum mothers. But they also do a lot of father support. So they have kind of like wrap sessions with dads, just kind of a space that dads can come together and be together and just talk about the challenges of being a father. But I think you're right. Creating spaces where people can come together, talk through the challenges of what it's like to be in that space without judgment. One of the things I'm finding in the caregiver work that I'm doing and the It Takes a Village program is that not a lot of people have support and are connected to other people who they can just vent to and talk to about, hey, this, my kid did this thing. Normal, and you kind of, if you're feeling really isolated, you might really start feeling like everything that's going on, there's something wrong with them or there's something wrong with you, and start to diagnose via Google can really make you start go crazy. So I think that there are great programs out there that already provide that kind of parenting support, and that is something that at ChildSavers we're also looking at, like how can we create maybe a little C, not a big C counseling space for parents and caregivers just to talk through some of those things.
And we welcome the opportunity to engage in more community conversations.
Yeah.
We actually, Katie and I guess maybe 3 years ago, did something very similar to this in Churchill, some of the churches, where they just had their members in attendance to ask questions. And we were very upfront. This is not a counseling session.
Right.
It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
And so just trying to plant the seed so that it can materialize into something greater. So we're always looking for opportunities to partner with like-minded mission agencies that we can collaborate together. Thank you, Melissa.
I had a question. I'm not a parent, but I was a child. At one point.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
we
we all were. Yep.
So, what's something that you hear from coverage and it came in? What's something that you hear from like, oh, wasn't for you?
So for the CDS side, I think what we hear often is that people who are parents and people who are not parents at this stage in their life, they often don't realize how critical access to early child care is. And especially, Dominique, for someone who does not have a child, but I'm sure you have young family members in your life, right, that you want to be a role model for. But what I always like to tell those particular persons is keep in mind with the way that you move about each day. And the way that you move about each day requires workforce, right? And so in order to have workforce, in order to have the people who are showing up at that Family Dollar, showing up at the library, showing up at the hospitals, the banks, they need access, those employees need access to quality childcare. And so that's one of the things I always want to make sure that people understand, because sometimes they can bury their heads in the sand when they don't have children. But early care impacts everyone in this room, because the lack of early care would mean that when you go to Family Dollar, maybe only one register open, because Katie couldn't come to work today because she didn't have childcare. And so we want to make sure that people understand that childcare is workforce development. Irregardless of what stage of life you're in, it's vitally important that the community uplift early care so that we can have a thriving and surviving community.
Oh, and to jump on that, when I had my babies, it was so wonderful to have the resources, the CDS program, to help think through things and just enlighten me into what are the state regulations in Virginia? What is okay? What's not okay? And the finding quality care and finding affordable quality care is so important, because childcare is incredibly expensive in certain places, and it shouldn't be a resource that's an access resource. It should be a resource that is generally out there for everybody who needs it, because I agree with you, Lisa, it's so important. I think from the mental health side, if I could summarize it into one piece, is I think that whether it's a family member, whether it's a caregiver, whether it's a child, or and a child who's graduated from our services, they all seem to come back with this value of just thank you so much for holding space for us. I didn't, when I was going through this thing at the time, I didn't realize how significant it was, but you guys like held space for us. You helped us work through it. And that like growth period of being able to come to the other side of it and just having somebody walk alongside you during it. I think that has been what we have heard from most of our community and families.
I think another takeaway is that all of us, regardless of our walk of life, we all have experienced critical moments.
Mm-hmm.
And critical moments doesn't necessarily mean that it was something that was devastating. Critical moment could be the little one back there who's going to go to kindergarten in September,
mm-hmm.
right? And so we want to make sure that our community children and our community partners understand what that means to address critical moments. And so we're, again, trying to make sure that ChildSavers, not mental health,
mm-hmm.
not CDS, but that ChildSavers is very present in the community to help walk and guide people through that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right. We will like say, hey, here are resources. Check these things out. You should know some of these rights. But we try not to like push or guide. But if somebody were to come to us and say, hey, can you fill out this FMLA paperwork for us, and I can do X, Y, and Z, we of course support in that way.
Asking for them. No. Do you work with like lobbying laws to be changed? Or can you talk about that a little bit as we're in this climate here? How can the community help lobby for different things? Help. So just wondering that.
Yes. Great question for the person who did not want to say it themselves. So we do. And so I can give you some examples. So for one prime example, I'm talking about early care. In early care, you have to have background clearances to work in a child care center, correct? If you want to be a substitute, prior to 5 years ago, you were responsible for obtaining your background clearances for every single child care that you worked at, which we know that could be cost prohibitive, right? So we were very fortunate that some colleagues and myself, along with some other state entities, we worked together to help create a bill that allow us to have what's called portable backgrounds. So now you can move your backgrounds with you. That was one prime example. Another one that we have been working with is trying to make sure that moms have access to quality care. And right now in the state of Virginia, there's a large wait list. And so there are a few bills that we are helping to support and we're advocating for so that funding can be allocated to help offset the high cost of child care. So we advocate. We're usually at the General Assembly a couple times throughout session. We're constantly reaching out to our legislators. We actually have connections even on the national level. And so whenever we receive notification that we need to help advocate and call our legislators, we do that. We disseminate that information to our team members. And then our team members in turn disseminate that to their networks.
Absolutely. You have a couple of people in the chat. It's great information. And just join overarching services and
You want to take that one?
I'll
Kate?
start with, okay. Yep. So on our mental health side, we have an outpatient team. That team does, and I didn't say this earlier, so get new information. We do in-person therapy. We also have telehealth therapy. So we're allowed to do therapy throughout the state of Virginia if need be. Our outpatient clinic, we typically see children as young as 2, up to about 18-ish. Put an asterisk by that, maybe 19. But typically the classic outpatient team, that's what we're working with. We also serve the caregivers of the families that we're working with. So if a child is enrolled in our services and a caregiver is having some of their own challenges, just needing some additional support, maybe there's something that's happened that they're also having a difficult time processing, they can get enrolled in our caregiver services. There's no real age connected to that one. It's, you're above 18, you can be enrolled in our caregiver services program. We have an immediate response team. That team is 2 to 18. Serves 2 to 18. That team serves individuals who have experienced or have been exposed to a recent trauma or disclosed a recent trauma. And we, trauma is in the eye of the beholder. So we don't necessarily have a checklist of like, oh, wasn't this, you don't meet criteria. So what we're looking for in that program is, did something happen and are you having symptoms that is directly connected to that event? And then how can we support you? And that program is a short-term program. About 6 months, we can do trauma-focused therapy with those individuals. And then we transfer them to another program or discharge them from services depending on what they need. That program, we also have an on-call line, which I also didn't say earlier. So new information as well. That team is on call 24/7, 365. And so we are on call for situations of, hey, my child just told me this thing happened. I don't know what to do. You could call our on-call line, get connected to one of our therapists. And depending on what's going on, we can respond in the moment. We could be coming out to your house, supporting you in doing some psychological first aid, doing some safety building just to help build some of that stability after an initial shock. Or we can just talk to you over the phone. It really kind of depends on what you need. And that on-call is free. That is grant-funded services that we offer. We do keep that to a 30-mile radius because we want to be able to get to you within a timely fashion should we need to. And that you could call that on-call line if you need it. I will send you the on-call information so you can put that information out to individuals. And then we have our school-based program. Our school-based program are services within the schools. They're outpatient therapy within a school. We're in Richmond City schools, 14. I think it's 14 schools in Richmond City. We are in all the schools in Colonial Heights and Hopewell. And then our newest program that's really geared towards mothers is our It Takes a Village program. It's kind of an offshoot of our caregiver services. And that is intended to serve postpartum perinatal mothers who are experiencing big challenges, little challenges, generally just need some support.
And on the child development services side, we actually work with children from birth to 12. We cover 71 localities in the state of Virginia. And our top 3 main services, because I don't want to get too deep, so just broadly, I'm going to categorize them again as training, coaching, and then certification. Those are the 3 things that we do. We work with individuals who would like to start their own business. So if you know someone who has a burning desire to be an entrepreneur, we can help them start their own in-home child care business.
Well, thank you for coming. It is greatly appreciated. We learned so much. We have flyers that I have to go upstairs. The mic is up there. I have to get on camera, guys. I don't like this.
I'm gonna step back so you
You
can have the mic.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for coming. So much information was shared, so many resources, things that I didn't know. Clearly, the legislation and lobbying is something that's big, something that we wanted to understand and learn more of. So thank you for coming. Any last words that you would like to tell our community?
Oh, well, you can find us at ChildSavers, which is located, the brick and mortar is located at 200 North 22nd Street, right there in Church Hill. So if you know where Bellevue Elementary School is located or Richmond Hill, we are literally walking distance from both of those. As Katie mentioned, that's just our brick and mortar. We are dispatched all over Central, South Side, and Southwest Virginia.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up, we have Juan. Juan is based in Richmond, Virginia, and operates at the intersection of Black mental health and structural integrity, equipping individuals and institutions with tools for disciplined thinking, emotional intelligence, and sustainable growth. As founder of Don Motivations and creator of the Gentleman's Academy and Crucial Conversations, he develops programs that blend psychological strategy, cultural awareness, and civic accountability to drive measurable impact. I would like to welcome Juan to the podium. Oh, sorry. I had the phone in my hand. Do you want to hook up?
Nah, this is my laptop.
Okay. Go. This is the mic.
Okay, this is the mic. All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. First, thank you for having me. Glad to be here. As Janice said, I'm the founder of Don Motivation, where I focus majority of my work on issues that have something to do with systemic issues or mental health, because they combine a lot more than what we think. So when I was thinking about, I had a whole pretty speech to give y'all today, but we cousins now, so we're gonna talk to each other. So we're not gonna go through the whole formal thing. I get that to you guys at another event. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to speak about today, it hit me: what we don't heal, we pass down. And I think it's very important for us to be able to understand how severe that is, because what ends up happening a lot of times is we can change our environment from how we grew up, what we experienced around college age, to becoming an adult. And we can look at that growth in the environment and assume that we heal, assume that we're, mentally healthy, because, hey, I went from the projects to, a struggling student to I'm a top executive, now. So I'm healed. The two really don't have anything to do with each other. And the reality is, a lot of what's driving our success isn't healthy. A lot of what's driving our success is survival mode, insecurities, this hyper independence. So, where do these things come from? Where does hyper independence come from? Being let down so many times as a child that as an adult, you don't trust anything, or not willing to give anybody a chance to put you in position to be let down. Survival mode. Survival mode is supposed to last you 30 seconds. And people think it's that. Survival mode is a bear come through that door right there. What do I do? Can I crash out that window? Do I need to try to fight past the bear? Do I stand still and act like I'm a tree? But when the bear leave out the room, it's supposed to end. But we'll be in survival mode for decades. And then we wonder why we have high blood pressure, heart issues, and a lot of other things. And a lot of these things come from, we have not healed from a lot of things that we've kind of set to the side. It's kind of like cleaning your room, right? Just because you threw it underneath the bed don't mean that the room clean. It's still there. It's still there. And eventually, you're going to have to change that mattress, move that bed, and all that junk is still underneath the bed. Our lives are the same way. It's easy not to feel like you are in survival mode when you're making good money, right? You know, because it's not the same survival mode as a child. Survival mode as a child may have been, you know, simple survival. Came home and the lights was off. What do I do? We don't understand that you still might be in survival mode because you worried about your job all day long. You worried about what Trump doing all day long. You worried about the economy. Am I gonna have to go to war? Are they gonna take me in the draft? Gas was $2.50 last week. It's $3.50 this week. The Lord knows what it's gonna be by next week, right? It's still the same thing. You stuck in survival mode and operating from a place of survival and not a place of living, and we assume that we healthy. Now, what we further don't understand is kids watching. The kids are watching. And whether they say it, whether you see them watching, they obtaining this information. Why? Because we become the bar of how they handle situations. So if you don't talk when you stressed out, they ain't gonna talk. Because where would they learn that from? Where would they learn that I'm going through something? Maybe I should sit down, talk it out, have a conversation, get it off my chest. But if you don't do that, where are they gonna get it from? They don't. They're gonna repeat what you do. A lot how you handle money. If you get paid and you go out and buy you some Jordans, then we got to eat ramen noodles for the next 2 weeks because you done spent up the grocery money. Odds are, kids are gonna do the exact same thing because that's what they saw. They see these things, and that becomes the bar. Now, sometimes the bar gets tricky. But I know for myself, I would have one conversation with you and tell you my father was the most toxic person in the world. But when it came to my kids, they'd be like, I don't understand why y'all upset with me about the time I spend with y'all when I spend way more time with y'all than my father spent with me. So is he toxic or is he not? Because if he's toxic, why are you using him as the bar for how much time you spend with your kids? Because that's what I saw. That was the example of time I had. You know, I grew up in an environment, literally. I lived in an apartment complex. I was one of the first people to move into Randolph Village in the city's West End. The only man, and when I say man, I mean adult that was taking care of bills. There's a couple people that just graduated from school. I'm talking about established adults. One adult man lived in our entire apartment complex. That was the maintenance man. The maintenance man was the only man that lived in the whole apartment complex. Now, I'm friends with his son, but you know what the problem is? He hanging with us. So the influence of his father a lot of times got blurred because he spent majority of his day with people who not only didn't have fathers, we could never have a discussion about how it bothered us. And that's where it gets tricky because how can you say my father not being around bothers me when nobody has their father around? Everybody in this environment winging it. You're winging it. So we have these things that we take with us and we don't know how to cut them off. We don't know how to properly put them in our lives, and then we pass them to our kids. Now, when we moved to Randolph Village, now y'all may laugh now, but when I got to high school in the 9th grade, I was 4'11" and 88 pounds. Now, I see y'all laughing already. I ain't even got to get about it. But so I'm a small guy, right? Imagine me in the 3rd grade. Now, the story gets more complicated because my grandmother always lived in the West End. So we went to school from her house. So I would go to the West End every day. So as they build in Randolph Village, I'm hearing who's moving into Randolph Village. So when my mom says, I'm divorcing your dad and we moving to Randolph Village, all right, time out. All the bullies, all the drug dealers, all their parents moving to the village. Dad ain't coming with us. It won't be a man in this household. So as the smallest person on the block, I had to be the biggest lion because I got to make sure that You can't come knock on his door. Because if you knock on his door, you're already too far because ain't no man behind me. So I had to live my life in a way where whatever foolishness I'm on, I won't bring it to that door. That was survival mode for then. That was survival mode for a child 4'11" in high school. I become an adult and go to meetings. And I don't know if any of y'all ever been to a budget planning meeting. It's the most savage thing outside the streets to me. Because, like literally, and this is my first meeting. I got a job at Hunting Williams Law Firm. I became assistant supervisor by age 19. By age 22, I was managing my own department. So I'm going to my first budgeting meeting. I'm feeling good about myself. Can't tell me nothing, right? I'm walking down the hall with a guy from another department. We talking, and he telling me, we talk about the game. We talking about life, his wife, things I got going on in my life. Cool. So we get into the meeting, and out of nowhere, he's like, well, Ron doesn't need more TVs in his budget because he's not doing right by the TVs he got. I said, what? In front of everybody? I literally went back to my office, got on the phone, called back to the West End, like, we got a problem. Why? Because I grew up in an environment where, first of all, he wasn't disrespecting me. It was business. He was simply stating he needed something for his department, so it don't make sense to put it in my department if I wasn't properly using resources I had. To me, at that time of life, to say that in front of everybody, that was a problem. That was a problem. But I also grew up in a place where if you had a problem with somebody and you didn't settle it, it didn't stop. It became an everyday thing, and people just felt like they could do whatever. I mean, word. What do? Not bring me a pencil? Not let me get paper? But in my head, I couldn't process that. Why? Because I'm still stuck in these things I haven't healed. I haven't healed these things. I'm going through life thinking, okay, because I got this shirt and tie on, I'm healed. Because I can hold these positions in life, I'm healed. I'm better. I'm a business person. I must be healed. I don't live in the same environment that I grew up in. I must be healed. Until I see my oldest son gets to high school, librarian, embarrass him. It's the first thing you do. Curse her out. Curse her out. My youngest daughter sees the baby girl. She would get upset and try to fight her brothers. In your head, you're saying, that's stupid. You know you can't beat your brothers, and if they hit you back, you're going to have an attitude about it. Where do you get that from? That's the thing we don't ever want to digest. Because we want to say it's the people they hanging with. We want to say it's the people they go to school with. We want to say it's the person on the playground. But how many times that they didn't clean the room and you walk into the room and be like, pick all this stuff up for I beat blah, 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 out you. Listen to them when they get mad. Word for word, they repeating what we say, not what they hear out in the streets. Because every child idolizes their parent. I don't care how screwed up your parent are. And it's even worse for mothers. A mother could be the worst mother in the world. Why? Because you gave me life. A person will always chase the love of their mother. Look at baby girl back there now. Just as comfortable. You can't beat that. You can't, and a man can't compete with that. You know what I'm saying? We can't compete with that. So what ends up happening is that mothers have an unfair job to deal with. Because the child is always going to check. I don't care if you're having a bad day, bad season, money ain't right. You always make things right. And that's not fair to women, but that's what kids have to deal with. Now, where it gets tricky at, how does the woman digest that? She's probably going to digest it the same way she saw her mother or her grandmother deal with it. And a lot of times, what we watched wasn't healthy. It was normalized dysfunction. And normalized dysfunction has to be one of the biggest plagues in our community, because we feel like if everybody else doing it, it must be right. And I done lived on this earth long enough to know if everybody doing it, 9 times out of 10, it's absolutely positively wrong. Because most people want to be comfortable. And what's comfortable? Doing what everybody else doing. Well, when you grow up in an environment where violence is normal, you grow up in an environment where hypersexuality is normal, how do you compete with that? Well, first, you got to heal. Because you can't lead a child into something healthy and you're masking what you're not healed from. And a lot of times we get to these places of success, and the success is just a mask. I was just giving a group lesson earlier today, and I was talking to them about the fact that your ego does not make good decisions. It's not even its job. Your ego protects you. Now, your ego protects you. The most common way your ego protects you is by lying to you and to the people around you. That's what your ego does, right? Your ego says, hey, I'm on a diet. Can't nobody beat me. I'm all about me. I do the things I'm supposed to do for me. I ain't eating meat. I ain't this. I ain't that. That's your ego. Your subconscious is sitting there knowing, be like, hey, bro, you got a whole bag of potato chips in your room. Just because ain't nobody see you eating them don't mean that you not eating them. So your subconscious keeps a record of the truth. Now, your subconscious may set it aside. So that thing that you dealt with it as a little girl, that thing you experienced as a teenage boy, you ain't talking about it. And your ego is constantly trying to keep everybody from, don't look at this. Don't look at me being 4'11". Don't look at me being 88 pounds. You can't see that. Because if you see that, I'm scared that you try to do something to my mama or my sister. And that can't ever happen. Right? I don't want you to see me like that. And it's led to a point that a lot of people be around me for a long time and be like, I'm only 5'6", 5'7" now. Like, oh, you're not that short. Be like, oh, no, bro, I just slept the doctor. I was hoping for something different too, but that's what they gave me, right? But my personality for so long has tried to hide the fact of my actual physical size. I don't give that. Sometimes I forget, right? You know, when I remember me being a caregiver at 53, taking care of my mom, taking care of my sister, back to being the same thing. I have to hide whatever it is with me because I can't let it go to them. But why am I doing that at 53? Because I didn't heal it at 20. I didn't heal it at 25. By 30, I didn't even think it was an issue. Mom doing good, sister off in college. I used to brag about it, but like, you know what? Everything I sacrificed was worth it. She went to college, got multiple degrees, has a successful job, living her life. Mom was good. It was no need, in my eyes, to go back and revisit the damage done then. It paid off. I didn't know I had these caregiving issues, being overprotective, right? But they come out in my life. Now what am I saying? My oldest son to this day, one time he was in high school, and look, Lawan would do some of the crazy stuff, like he would get up in the morning, fix his little brothers and sisters breakfast, come knock on my door, and say, I'm hungry. But you just fixed everybody in the house something to eat, right? But he would come to me. So I took him outside, but like, why do you do that? Like, why do you take care of them and you don't take care of yourself? And he started using foul language and whatever. When he got to the end of the story, like, I couldn't even say anything to him. He's like, because my mama don't do right by me. And my little brothers and sisters, they ain't gonna want for nothing. As long as I'm living, they good. He stood on that. So to him, that was his way of doing the exact same thing that I was doing. I did it for my mother and my sister. He's doing it for his brothers and sisters. So the thing was, I didn't heal, and I passed it down. So I just come to everybody today to be like, got issues, don't let it become normalized. Don't think that because it's not showing today, it doesn't exist. It's still there. You need to go take care of it, because trust me, you're doing something to pass it down to your kids. Well, with Don Motivation, I do one-on-one coaching. I'm really trying to get away from it because I hate jobs. I like owning businesses, but got to pay bills, right? So I do one-on-one coaching. Now I'm trying to get more programs where I can reach more people at one time. So right now I'm working on a program called the Gentleman's Academy, which is for kids who need help. They may not have a man in the house to show them, like, when you go to court, stop putting on that polo and some flays. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. That's the I'm going to jail outfit. Teach them how to dress. Teach them how to talk. Teach them how to be respectful. Because we can't be mad at kids and we're not doing our part to teach them. We can't assume that they have someone to teach them, because we also at that age where young adults don't know a lot of these things because nobody taught them, and it was an assumption. So now they have kids, and like our generation, we had to go to church. We had, like, it wasn't an option. Everybody in this room was like, mm-hmm. We had flashbacks of grandma, beating on you. So kids don't have that. But church was one place you had to learn how to talk, learn how to behave yourself, learn how to sit still, learn how to put some clothes on. So I want to create some programs that will help in those areas. But as a QPPMH, which is a qualified paraprofessional in mental health, I do mental health skill building, which is basically a service for people who have mental health challenges to help them be able to function in the world. So you can have bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, high-level ADHD, all these things. Still got to learn how to live in the world. So teach you how to get your food, budget yourself, be able to deal with these emotions that you may have. If you hear voices in your head, go ahead and call the doctor. Don't sit there and have a conversation. Go ahead and call the doctor, because you're about to have an episode. So just teaching people how to work through those type things. That's something I'm working on. The problem is I want to make sure I'm reaching the right audience, and then how to pay other people to be able to do it. And that becomes the issue. One of the biggest issues is everything, and a lot of mental health spaces have to meet Medicaid requirements. And I know that's not always the case. For a lot of people, people like working class people, y'all don't have problems with your kids. I know I got problems with mine, right? So I want to be able to work something out. So I'm trying to work with the state on getting some funding, but they try to keep pushing us back to Medicaid. But I'm gonna work on something with that, because that is important. Broken Man Foundation, the Broken Man Foundation. Yeah, I said they do great work in the city. The Broken Man Foundation, where they do a lot of mentorship work. They take a lot of kids in. They have different programs. Some programs last a month, some last a couple of months. But it's a way to get to kids who may be at risk and turn them around. I'm also working with the city for a program to take kids who get in trouble in school and have them go to the tech center to learn a trade instead of sending them to go to jail. Because if you teach a person a skill, I know I can work, I can make money, take them out the environment that got them in trouble. Online, Don Juan Cordova on everything. DonJuanCardoba on every platform. I'm there. You can also join. I have a Daily Don Motivation Academy. It's a free group on Facebook, and you can find me there. I drop daily lessons on mental health.
We have one question that came from the audience in terms of, you a lot about, I have to come to the mic. You talked a lot about breaking generational trauma, and as a mother, and how would you say you actually learn to balance how to break those? So you said a lot about healing, but once I heal, how do I know that I didn't pass it down, or that my child needs healing too? Or how do you balance?
Make the assumption that you passed it down. One reason, there's been research over the last probably 10, 15 years, stress and trauma is passed through your DNA. So a lot of times when we see something on the news or see something happen and we are like emotional to it, we don't realize you didn't experience that, but you had an ancestor that experienced that or went through that, and you had that trauma in your DNA. So definitely something that you directly birthed. Assume that they have whatever trauma it is that you went through. My youngest son, whole life grew up in Brandonville. I have to assume he has some trauma for Randolph Village in him because he's mine.
So just learn to deal with it. Don't push it to the side. Go get help and seek someone that can assist you with mental health and caring, especially start young. So you should tell like your young ones to start now, and so they don't have that issue when they get older.
Most definitely. The quicker we can get kids to realize therapy is not bad. It's not bad. And I know for myself, I went to therapy because I was going through a divorce and just took my mother in as a caregiver. I'm like, let me go to therapy to be proactive. The therapist was like, glad you came. You do have depression, but it does not come from you being a caregiver, and it does not come from your divorce. You need to go get checked because you got undiagnosed ADHD. I'm sitting there making a strange face. My oldest son and my youngest son both have ADHD. I cannot see myself with it. But majority of my stress, majority of the things I was going through, really, it's side effects of ADHD. We get told it's all about attention. It's not. It's emotional regulation. It's rejection sensitivity. It's, focus, executive functioning, all these things. But if you don't go talk to a professional, you're trying to self-diagnose. I just need more caffeine. No, you know what I'm saying? You need to find out what it is that's going on in your life so you get it fixed. And you're not going to find it out not going to talk to a professional.
Well, thank you. I would like to thank you for coming and talking to us. It gave us something to think about, especially things that we may not have thought about before. So I thank you a lot. Thank you for our viewers out there, everyone in the room. This has been great. See you later.